Everybody, how's it going today, guys? Trump is exposing the most corrupt judges in our country, and it is causing the Democratic Party to fall faster than it's ever done before, and he's barely getting started. A federal judge in D.C., James Boasberg, issued an emergency order halting President Trump from using the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 for deporting Tren de Aragua criminal gang members to another country. This judge literally stopped Trump through this order, even though he stopped him. We've already sent over 200, but he's stopping from sending even more criminal gang members of Tren de Aragua from leaving the United States, saying that it is citing that it is unfair. If this is not exposing the Democratic Party, their craziness, their left progressive agenda, I don't know what does. But Congressman Brandon Gill has already announced plans to file articles of impeachment against Judge Boasberg this week. This is reflecting literally what the Democratic Party is all about. That's why new polling from NBC and CNN showed that the Democratic Party's favorability has dropped dramatically, guys. We're talking 29% favorability. This is horrible. And remember, in 2008, it was at 60% whenever Obama came in, and it's been dropping ever since. Why? Because they keep siding on the wrong side of history. Why would you fight Trump on deporting illegal criminal gang members? That makes no sense whatsoever, but that's what this judge did. They're filing the appeals right now, and this may go to the Supreme Court. On top of that, guys, we got breaking news that, unfortunately, India's first 3 clinics in Hyderabad dedicated to transgender communities were forced to shut down because Trump shut down their USAID money from going over there. So the only reason that India had these 3 clinics for transgender communities was because the United States taxpayer was funding it. This is how corrupt our system is. And Trump is going very hard, guys. This is about as hard as you can get against the Houthi terrorists. He said, "Today, I have ordered the United States military to launch decisive and powerful military action against the Houthi terrorists in Yemen. They have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, violence, and terrorism against America and other ships, aircraft, and drones." This is what we're dealing with, everybody. This federal judge in D.C., left-leaning Democratic, ordered the deportation flights carrying alleged Venezuelan gangbangers to return to the U.S. You cannot make this stuff up. We got a ton of breaking news to go into today, guys. I want to say thank you to all of our subscribers, all of our viewers. Guys, we couldn't do this without you. To all of our members, guys, y'all are killing it in the chat. We got the best chat on YouTube. Thank you so much for your support. I want to say thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation and supports us through that, as well as buying the t-shirts. Something's still going on with the the integration between our store and Google and YouTube. I got in trouble because I didn't label our shirts as adult, and the color was white, and that they were unisex. Because I didn't label those 3 things on the shirts in Google, they took our shirts down and disconnected the store, but I'm working to get it back up. But you can still find the link to our store in the description, and the link to be a member of this channel in the description as well. And just want to say thank you to everybody that shares and likes these videos, guys. If you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, it really does help our channel out so much. We got a ton of this crazy news to get into today, guys. This is huge. And Trump is moving fast on this because, again, too, the exposing of this corrupt judges and them choosing to side with terrorist gang members, this makes absolutely no sense. Check this out.
Order to fast track the deportations of alleged Venezuelan gang members out of the U.S.
Matt Finn is in West Palm Beach, and he joins us now with the latest. Matt, good morning.
Good morning. President Trump invoking this Rare Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Trump declaring that all Venezuelan citizens who are 14 years or older and are members of Tren de Aragua are considered unlawful and are not allowed to become permanent residents here. Well, yesterday, the ACLU filed a lawsuit claiming the Alien Enemies Act is unlawful, and a judge sided with the ACLU. And ultimately, regardless of whether these Venezuelans are gang members of TDA or not, Chief U.S. District Judge James Boasberg of the D.C. Circuit argued that the Alien Enemies Act could be used against Venezuelan citizens, so he granted a temporary restraining order preventing the deportation of 5 Venezuelans yesterday who were already in U.S. custody. Now, it's not clear if the 2 planes that were ordered were returned to the United States. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi responding, writing, quote, "Tonight, a D.C. trial judge supported Tren de Aragua terrorists over the safety of Americans. This order disregards well-established authority regarding President Trump's power, and it puts the public and law enforcement at risk." Now, as the number of illegal migrant crossings and illegal gotaways continues to plunge under the Trump administration, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem posted a video online showing gates at a border wall closing behind her.
This is an announcement to the entire world. America's borders are closed if you want to come here illegally.
Let's go.
We only want people in our country who love America and want to follow our laws.
And on the topic of TDA, I've been investigating and tracking just one Venezuelan migrant over the past couple of weeks, a suspected TDA gang member in Chicago. Pedro Colmenares was deported in 2022 under Biden, yet he was arrested and released 3 separate times in Chicago. ICE tried to get a hold of him, but Sanctuary Cook County denied a detainer, and he was just arrested a 4th time. He is a murder suspect, and he was arrested recently for kidnapping and sexually assaulting a woman. Back to you guys.
Wow.
Thanks, Matt.
Matt Finn, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, we want to keep that guy here. Right?
Yeah,
we want to turn that flight around.
Yeah, bring the plane back.
Bring it back. Bring these guys back that arrested 4 times. Listen, you mentioned earlier, Joey, it was a good point. There's only 5 guys that were on that flight. So they're probably pretty well vetted, pretty certain that those were Tren de Aragua members.
Yeah, we spoke earlier with Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director, and we're trying to understand, is this judge taking issue with this law, this really old law, and the fact that it's being used at all? Or is he taking issue with the way the Trump administration is interpreting it towards a gang or terrorist organization instead of a country? He seemed to really think that this is more the latter. But in any case, this is the same law that was used to justify the internment camps of World War II, and it didn't get struck down by the Supreme Court then. So they've had a long time to decide if this law is something the president should be able to use. More on his reaction. Let's listen to Jonathan Fahey.
I think he really is overstepping his bounds, and I think he will be reversed, or ultimately they'll have a hearing on the merits. He'll probably rule against the Trump administration, and then it will get reversed with a higher court, because the executive branch has discretion to make these types of decisions, particularly in wartime. And remember, we've declared Tren de Aragua a foreign terrorist organization, but it really is a disgrace because this is the only way they can deport them, because some of them have status because of the Biden administration, even though they're gang members. So, the Biden administration created this problem, this emergency, and the Trump administration is simply trying to protect public safety and national security here.
It really is an obvious and extraordinary overreach by this judge. And, and it's not like, President Trump didn't just win an election based on promising to do exactly this. And you can't say, the closest decider, the closest actor in all of this to the voters is Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is doing exactly what he spent the last 6 months, 12 months promising voters he would do, and voters elected him to do this. So the idea...
Guys, this is about as disgusting as you could get when it comes to the priority and safety of American people. It literally blows my mind, guys. If you appreciate what Trump is doing, because remember, it's going to be Trump versus the judges from here on out. If you appreciate what Trump is doing, guys, hit that thumbs up like button. We really appreciate your support. With these federal judges stopping Trump from deporting these gang members, and allowing them to stay here. And under the Biden administration, you had a guy who was literally arrested 4 times, one on suspect on murder charges, one for allegedly assaulting a woman and doing, that horrible things. And then that person is not the only one. And this is our breaking news of this is what's on, that these federal judges would rather choose to go and defy against Trump and keep fighting him when it comes to protecting these illegal immigrants versus protecting the American people. Thank you so much, Scott Matthews, for the super chat. Let's go. And Ronald Zimmerman. And thank you so much, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, who said, these judges all have to go and all the nonsense needs to be really looked at under a microscope for the American taxpayers involved. 100%. Y'all show Mr. Norby, Ronald, and Scott some love in the chat. Because what you're about to see next is they have been doing these swatting events, these raids in the middle of the night towards American citizens, and I'm specifically talking about conservative voices, and you're about to hear firsthand what actually happened. Guys, this is about the judges. You cannot make this up. That's why we need to impeach every one of these corrupt judges. They're being exposed right now, and they're attacking conservative voices just like they attacked conservative moms when they were speaking out against the boards of education in their cities for allowing all those crazy books with sexuality in them. Listen to this.
Sean Ferris joins us now by phone. Sean, Kash Patel just put out a tweet from the FBI, say he's all over this. Many people have talked to him behind the scenes. He says he's got a team on this. They're talking to law enforcement. They're going to get to the bottom of investigating this. We got you by phone. I'm going to hold you to the break. So tell us what happened. What exactly happened to you and your wife?
Well, Steve, first, thank you so much for allowing me to tell the story here and raise awareness about this, because it could have been a lot worse. And, it could have been as bad as we've seen with some of the J6ers who were ripped from their homes. Thankfully, that's not what happened. I had fallen asleep. I was on the couch. We had a long day yesterday. My wife woke me up and told me that there were cops in our yard with guns. I knew that this was going on to other prominent voices in the movement. I saw it all over the internet. So I sat straight up and I said to her, okay, we're being swatted. And she didn't know what that meant. Or she thought worst case scenario, we were going to have our house raided. But we said, let's sit down and let's wait for instruction. So the cops positioned themselves outside. And then I got a phone call from the deputies outside the home. And they told me what they received, the call that they received, that 2 people were shot in the house, and that I was planning on committing suicide by cop. And that if they came into the home. I said, that's not true. It's myself, my wife. We had 3 cats that we rescued. And we walked out. We complied with their orders. Everything was very calm. The officers that were here handled it very nicely. They were professional. They were kind. But they did not know that this was a national trend that was emerging, and I made them aware of that. Just before we came on here, they called and wanted some additional information. I'm going to be reaching back out to them shortly. But about 5 minutes before we connected here, another mysterious Domino's pizza order showed up at the house that I didn't order. So whoever is doing it is also apparently ordering food. They got the order wrong, so, I sent it back.
Is there any doubt in your mind that whoever did this, and Kash is committed to get to the bottom of it, wanted to essentially have you and your wife assassinated by cop, sir?
You hear this?
There's that's something that we've been thinking about, that they were hoping somebody made a mistake, and that was the outcome.
The principal reason that that Schumer gave for keeping the government open, for his basic surrender today, is because he feared we would shut down the courts. And he says, this is the way we're winning right now. Can you give your overall assessment? Because this is where, and all their other failures, this is the one place they've gotten traction, sir.
Shows you how illegal and unconstitutional this strategy is. The American people elected President Trump. They gave him a comfortable majority in the United States Senate, and they gave him another Republican House. The American people gave President Trump a broad electoral mandate, and these Democrats know they're not going to win in the House, so long as the House sticks together. They're not going to win in the Senate. And so they have to run to their activist judges in the courts. They're judicial saboteurs. And remember this, a federal judge's job is a modest but crucial job. They decide cases and controversies before them, with parties before them, with redressable claims. The courts find facts, then they apply the law to those facts, and then they order a remedy permitted by the law. And that's it. Judges wear robes. They don't wear capes. They don't set national policy. They certainly don't set foreign policy. They're not the HR department for another branch. They can't tell the president who he can hire and fire.
Last night on the shows, they didn't want to talk about Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer was the third or fourth story they got to. The first story all night long was their wins in federal court, sir.
Again, the American people gave President Trump a broad electoral mandate to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, to make our government work for us instead of us working for our government. And President Trump is doing that. That's the unthinkable in Washington. He's actually doing what he promised American voters he would do. And that includes getting rid of these federal employees who do not provide value. These probationary employees who the Biden administration hired over the last year or two, the Trump administration made a determination on an individualized basis through these agency heads that these probationary employees are no longer useful. So they got a pink slip and got sent packing as they should have, all these Biden hires, right? And what they're doing is they have these plaintiffs, these unions, and these left-wing activists running to these left-wing activist judges, and they're getting illegal, unconstitutional orders from these activist judges. These activist judges are trying to tell the president of the United States that he does not have power under Article 2 of the Constitution, the executive power, the power as the chief executive officer, as the commander-in-chief, to hire and fire employees, including overseas foreign service officers, including telling the president what he can do for military readiness and morale. This is unacceptable, what these activist judges are doing. If these fired employees want to get redress, they go to the Merit Systems Protection Board and they can get monetary damages. But for an activist judge, two activist judges now saying that the president of the United States has to rehire fired executive branch workers against his will violates Article 2 of the Constitution. It violates federal statute. These judges don't have the power to do this.
Guys, do you still see the lawfare that's happening even though Biden's gone, even though we have the House, the Senate, and the presidency? The lawfare is still happening, but I want to show you this because this is a slap in the face to every single Democrat who just doesn't get it. Stop doing these illegal things. Stop using lawfare because the American people are seeing it. They're holding you accountable, and that's why you're losing. Look at this.
I'm a big fan of the oldies, and when it comes to the feelings that Americans, voters at large, and Democrats have, I can't help but think of Chubby Checker. Why is that? Because the question is, how low can you go? Voters' views of Democrats in Congress, the lowest ever approval ratings on record per Quinnipiac University. Look at this. Approve 21% among all voters. Look at the disapprove level. Holy Toledo, 68% of all voters disapprove of how Democrats are doing in Congress.
Right here.
Now, you might think that is low, and this is the lowest number on your screen here, down at 21%. But I want to bring you over here to how Democratic voters feel, because this is truly unbelievable. Amongst their own party, how do Democratic representatives, senators, how are they viewed? Get this. The plurality disapprove at 49%. More Democrats disapprove of the job that their party is doing in Congress than approve. Get this, only 40% approve. These are truly horrific numbers. They're in the trash bin of history. That is how low these approval ratings are. When you can't even get plurality approval among your own party, you know you're doing something wrong in the eyes of...
Guys, do you see this? This is accountability, baby. This is the American people telling Democrats, you suck. You need to change what you're doing. You need to stop using the lawfare. You need to stop siding with criminals. You need to stop trying to use these activist judges to try to stop every single thing that Trump is doing, because the majority of people say that Trump is moving the country in the right direction. If you appreciate this, guys, if you love seeing this type of content, hit that thumbs up like button. Thank you so much for your support. Teresa Weber, thank you so much for the super chat, who said, gang, not Americans, judges only over Americans. Let's go. Said Scott Matthews, said, Joel, thank you for your awesome show. Let's go, Cal. And then he said, Teresa said, strip the judges of citizenship, deport, and no return. Guys, let me tell you this. If one of those gang members commits a crime and hurts or takes the life or does some unspeakable towards an American, the judge who allowed them to be back should be held at the same extent as that gang member, because they allowed it. That is not fair. It is not right. It is not putting America first. And thank you so much, Lukika YN1, who said DOJ and FBI need to investigate the folks making the swatting calls and make examples of them. This has to stop. 100%. Y'all show them some love in the chat, guys. We are 100% moving in the right direction. And what I love, again, too, guys, is I always get to say we're getting transparency. We are seeing what is transpiring not only from the outside in, but so much of Trump's cabinet is letting us know where the next steps are going. And this is super important because there's a lot of good things to look forward to, guys. We got Doge checks. We got no taxes on a lot of things. Check this out.
You've had quite a victory here, and it's an amazing thing. You have a de minimis majority in the House of Representatives. In the Senate, the Democrats could have used the filibuster to block the bill. They failed. Number one, you've been highly underestimated, haven't you? In other words, people have said you got 1 or 2 votes, he can't pull this off, and yet you've pulled it off. How? Let's start this way. How have you done this? How have you been able to pull together the Republicans in the House of Representatives?
Well, thanks, Mark. Great to be with you. We did have a big week. It's the result of a lot of patience and a lot of prayer, frankly. We had a united front. I'm so grateful for this team that stuck together. I'm grateful for a president who is deeply engaged in the process. President Trump is a huge part of this, as you know. We all dug in and got the job done. For the second, third time in a row, they keep underestimating us on these big votes. But the Republicans are sticking together and getting it done. And this time, we passed a resolution to fund the government, to do the responsible thing, to do it in a way that actually reduces spending year over year, which we think is the first time that might have happened in the modern era, if ever. And we put the Democrats on record for just raw partisan politics. Mark, think of it. 99% of the Democrats in Congress, both the House and the Senate, voted to shut the government down, to try to make some sort of aimless political point. It's shameless. They're using the American people as pawns, but Republicans are getting the job done, and we're sticking up for the country.
And this bill, what's in this bill generally? I mean, there's an increase for defense. There's a reduction in domestic spending, I understand. What pretty much is in this bill, generally?
Well, here's what we try to do. We wanted to pass a resolution that would effectively freeze spending so that the administration can continue its incredible work through DOGE and through the other efforts of the administration to go in and root out the fraud, waste, and abuse that we've been trying to target in Congress for decades. But we haven't been able to get to it because we didn't have the algorithms that Elon has. We didn't have the access to all the data and the funding. And so now the game has changed. So we needed to hold the line in what we're doing right now so that when we get to the next fiscal year, FY26, which we will begin work on immediately now that this is done, we'll be able to incorporate all those savings and all the new transformational kinds of policies the administration is working with us to bring about. So this bill effectively does freeze funding, except that what you said, it adds a little to defense. That's what Pete Hegseth said he needed, the Department of Defense, some flexibility and $6 billion additional dollars for the immediate needs. And it reduces non-defense discretionary spending by about $13 billion. So overall, a $7 billion savings to the American people. And Mark, we are just getting started. We are going to reduce the size and scope of the federal government to make it look more like the framers of the Constitution intended. They wanted a lean, mean federal government that had clear oversight from Congress. We're going to be able to do that again, and we're excited about it.
Hey, guys, I don't know about y'all, but Mike Johnson looks like he's getting some work done. Like, his face looks a little puffy or something like that. Y'all let me know. I mean, I ain't got nothing against nobody getting some work done. I just think it's funny because he's a congressman. Yeah, he just looks kind of different, don't he?
I assume there's going to be another bill dealing with taxes. Is that correct? And when would that come up?
Yeah, so the next big thing on our plate is the reconciliation process, and that's what we call the one big beautiful bill. And in that will be all of our campaign commitments, the promises we made on the campaign trail, the big priorities of President Trump and the White House. We're gonna put it all together. So you'll have border security completely funded to ensure we stay on top of that problem.
Yes.
We'll get back to American energy dominance again. Thank goodness. That'll be good for the economy and national security. We'll help to continue to restore peace and exert peace through strength. That's one of our guiding principles. And of course, the tax component, as you said, Mark, along with regulatory reform. We've got to make sure that the Trump era tax cuts from the first administration are extended. And we're going to do it in a permanent fashion. And so what that will do is give stability to the market. So we'll make sure that we don't have the largest tax increase in U.S. history, which is what would happen by default if we failed in this mission at the end of this year. So a lot of big work, a lot of compromises and discussion and deliberation that has to be made over the next 5 to 6 weeks among the Republican Party. But we will do this on our own because I anticipate we'll have 0 Democrats to help with this. Mark, they have shown, as they did with this vote on the resolution to fund the government, that they seem to hate President Trump more than they love America. So the responsibility of governing the country falls to Republicans, and we are going to do that. We're going to fulfill that mission.
And about when does this kind of a bill come up for a vote? When would this take place?
Well, I put it on a very aggressive timetable. The objective is to get this done before Memorial Day, hopefully to the president's desk for signature in early May. And why is that so important? Because we've got to make sure this is the bill that will deliver the real economic relief for the American people. It will give certainty to job creators and entrepreneurs and risk takers, the people that provide the jobs in our economy, our society, and all of these things, border security, stability on the world stage. It needs to happen immediately. So we're going to move that as quickly as possible through the congressional process and try to get it wrapped up by the early summer, middle of summer. And that will ensure that people feel the effects of it. And certainly before the midterm elections in 2026, that's going to be an important factor for us politically as well as in every other respect.
The debt is out of control. Biden blew it through the roof. Spending is out of control. Biden and his party blew it through the roof. You see through Doge and these reports, massive amounts of money, not just millions, tens of billions of dollars.
Billions.
Even in the last 3 or 4 months of the regime, they're pushing it out the door as fast as they can. Charles Gasparino did a report. He said that they spent near the end, in order to try and get Kamala Harris elected, $250 to $300 billion by manipulating Treasury notes and so forth that the administration is having to deal with, trying to deal with, so interest rates don't go through the roof.
Wow.
It really has been diabolical. So my question when we return, Mr. Speaker, is what the hell do the Democrats want? How much more spending can there be? How much more debt can there be? How much more government can there be without crashing the entire private economy? That's my question to you when we return. We've had quite a victory.
Guys, let me tell you this. The Democrats right now are literally on the wrong side of history, and everybody is getting to see it. Like, you cannot, there is no common sense person that will say, yeah, let's not deport illegal criminal gangbangers. Let's just keep them here. No common sense person says that. What they say is, hey, let's make sure that we get the criminals out. Let's make sure that America is safe. Let's make sure that the people that are here, we know are supposed to be here. And especially when you have one guy that the Biden administration allowed and released, who literally was a murder suspect, had allegedly assaulted a woman and did other stuff, had been literally arrested 4 times, and they were still letting him go. That, to me, is intentional, and those people need to be held accountable. Thank you so much, Scott Matthews, for the super chat. Let's go. He says, shout out to Southern California. Everyone, let's go. And thank you so much, Alex Fox, for gifting the True Life News memberships and for the super chat, who said these judges need to be impeached. It's so disgusting. Something needs to be done for accountability. I agree. You cannot side with criminals when you're literally a judge and expect to keep your job. And I'm glad that we do have some people that are filing articles of impeachment against this judge to get their butt out of there, because this is a Biden admin judge and they need to be held accountable for that. Y'all show Alex some love if you got a free membership, guys. And what's new? Let's go with the super chat. Said, if Dems think it's bad now, just wait until MAGA floods the midterms, because that's where it's leading to, guys. I want you to see this. So I showed you CNN earlier showing that Democrats have the lowest favorability rating since they've been recording it. That's how bad they are right now. Now look at what the polling is showing from MSNBC on where the country is going if the country is going in the right direction. Check this out.
First of all, the mood of the country, this really jumped out. We asked folks, is it on the right direction or the wrong direction? That 44% you say right direction, that's up since November. And if that doesn't seem like a lot, the last time it cracked 40%, you got to go back to 2012. The last time it actually hit 44 or higher, January of 2004. So a lot of this is Republicans, but independents, that number is also up since the election on the direct.
Let's go, baby. Very positive among Republicans. Want to say, if you appreciate this, guys, hit that thumbs up like button. Thank you so much for your support. Want to give some love to VT Girl 1969 for the super chat and Mr. Norby for the super chat. Let's go. He said, what the Democrats don't really know is that they have a failure to communicate. President Trump isn't having it their way. They have to get in line, start doing what the law states to do in the Constitution. Republicans stick it to them. Democrats, let's go. Y'all show Mr. Norby and VT Girl some love in the chat. Because right here, Republicans' favorability is 24% higher than what it was in 2017. This is, guys, this is a movement. This is what we're seeing. And it all goes back to what is touching the American taxpayer's pocket. What you're about to see next, guys, this is why Republicans are winning so much, but why we need to stick to what we said we were going to do. And Trump needs to make sure that his people are going to reduce the deficit. Listen to this.
Our debt is so high, and we're paying so much interest, that the debt grows by $1 trillion every 100 days. So this 36.5 trillion figure, 100 days from now, a little over 3 months, it's going to be 37.5 trillion. That's how fast the debt's growing. This number is so high, and we're paying so much in interest that debt accrues at $10 billion a day, not million, $10 billion a day. $417 million, it goes up an hour. 6.9, let's call it 7 million a minute. What have I've been talking, 3 minutes? Debt just got increased $21 million.
God.
And we've got to pay that money back. This is not funny money. We're talking about how to start paying it back by reducing our spending, but there's another way. It's to generate income through our 620 million acres of land. Take our national parks, for example. First thing we want to do with our natural parks is preserve them. I mean, they're beautiful. That's why they're national parks. We want to preserve them and respect them and protect them environmentally and otherwise. We also want to allow people to enjoy them. And we do that by telling folks, come on in. You have to pay an entrance fee, but it's reasonable if you want to come in and camp or just walk around and enjoy the scenery, go on a hike. And that generates some money. You don't want the entrance fee to be too high, but you want it to be reasonable. And in some of our national parks actually allow mining, oil and gas production, timber production, so that increases income as well. I have seen an estimate from the private sector, there's several of these, that our public land, our $620 million, if we managed that land properly, could generate $90 million in revenue. $90 million could be generated by our public land. How? Through mineral harvesting, natural gas production, oil drilling, grazing for agriculture, hunting licenses, fishing licenses, camping permits. You know what our federal lands actually generate in money? We know the potential, $90 billion a year. That'd help us pay down this debt. In 2023, our federal lands actually lost money. They lost $13 billion.
You got to be kidding me.
We went from a potential of $90 billion, according to land use experts, that's what they ought to be generating, to a loss of $13 billion. It's embarrassing. Now, I don't want to blame all of it on the past administration. It wasn't all President Biden's fault, but some of it was. Under President Biden, not him, but his people, he appointed them, they banned offshore drilling off of most of America's coastlines. They prohibited mining on over 1 million acres of lands. They canceled leases for oil and natural gas production. They paused all new permits for LNG, which Europe is hungry for. They restricted hunting, they restricted fishing, they restricted hiking. And they buried our federal lands in red tape. That's why we lost $13 billion instead of gaining $90 billion a year. It doesn't have to be this way. All we have to do is look at the states. The states have state land. They don't have 620 million acres like the federal government does, but they got a lot of land. The states have worked very hard to increase the revenue on their state lands while preserving them. Arizona, Idaho, Montana, New Mexico, all we have to do is copy them. Their activities, their preservation of their property, but their monetizing of their state lands has produced over the past few years an average return of $14.51 for every $1 those states have invested. So the states spend $1 on their state lands, they get back $15.
That's not bad.
Pretty good return.
It's 15x.
And they haven't sacrificed air quality. They've protected their lakes and rivers, and they've preserved their state land. The federal government, for every $1 we spend on our public land, we get back 73 cents.
Wow.
So we put out $1 and we get back 73 cents.
We suck at the federal government.
You don't have to be Euclid to see that we're going backwards here.
Guys, let me tell you this. If there is anything that is telling is that states handle the money better. When you give it to the federal government, they do things like this. So India's first 3 clinics in Hyderabad dedicated to the transgender community were closed down because Trump shut down the USAID spending. Because that's what the federal government decides that that's where our money should go, is transgender community clinics in a foreign nation versus maybe giving that money back to the American people. With the accountability here is so absurd, guys. It literally blows my mind. That's why I'm so thankful for accountability. I'm thankful that Trump, Doge, and all them are doing what they're doing. Want to give some love to Summerman. Thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. He said, hi, everyone. Let's pray for all who have been lost and guide them to the truth and love thy enemy. Hey, them Democrats, they need a lot of prayer, y'all. And Joanne Britt, welcome to the family. Let's go. Carol Robertson, welcome to the family. And thank you so much, Katrina Cathy. Said, great job with True Life News. Let's go. Y'all show Katrina and Summerman some love in the chat. Guys, everything that we show you here on this, we bring the receipts. This makes literally no sense to the average American person. But yet when it comes to somebody sitting in an office at the federal government who got probably taken out to eat at some really nice restaurant by a lobbyist, says, oh yeah, let's go ahead and send, tens of millions of dollars overseas for some transgender community clinics in India. Like, me saying that sounds so fictionist. Is that a word, fictionist? But that's literally what happened. And again, where are we at right now? Trump is fighting. I mean, guys, this fight is getting so real with the courts. These federal judges literally just blocked criminals from being deported. What do you want to do with them? Listen to this.
Mr. Chairman, thanks so much for being here.
You bet. Good to be with you.
Are these flights now on their way back to America with all of these Venezuelan gangs?
Yeah. Yeah, that's my understanding. This judge says, don't send the hardened criminals back to where they belong. Bring them back to the country so I can evaluate them. And again, this is the same judge, by the way, Maria, who a few years ago, when there was information taken to the FISA court that was false, the guy who falsified that information, this lawyer, Kevin Kleinsmith, basically Judge Boasberg gave him a slap on the wrist. So this is that same judge. Don't let the hardened criminals leave, even though the head of the executive branch, Article 2, Section 1 says executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. This is his prerogative. He followed the law. He did this. This judge says, no, no, no. Bring the hardened criminals back. Bring the gang members back. And we're going to have a hearing on it. I think it's set for next Friday. So, yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. But frankly, we probably should have suspected this from a judge who did what he did with Kevin Kleinsmith and that whole FISA court stuff back during the fake Trump-Russia collusion baloney.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up. I was going to bring it up. Judge Boasberg sat on there as the presiding judge on the FISA court. It's the judge who gave the FBI lawyer Kevin Kleinsmith a slap on the wrist and basically what did he do? He manufactured evidence used in the Carter Page FISA application that defrauded the court. So should we just expect constant pushback and resistance from this judge because he doesn't like Trump and has been trying to undo Trump for years?
Well, remember what he did. The guy, Kevin Kleinsmith, actually altered a document. He falsified a piece of information taken to the court and made it mean exactly 180 degrees opposite of what the actual email said.
Exactly.
And the whole underlying case was here. The Clinton campaign went to the Perkins Coie. Perkins Coie hired Fusion GPS, who hired a foreigner, Christopher Steele, who put together a fake false document in addition to what Kevin Kleinsmith did, this dossier that Jim Comey took to the court so they could go spy on President Trump's campaign. So that's the background. And now this guy is saying, oh, let the hardened criminals come back to America. Makes no sense. This is why the American people support what President Trump is doing and are fed up with these judges. Now, we took some action a couple of weeks ago in our committee. We said these federal judges, these district federal judges who issue some kind of injunction, some kind of hearing, or some kind of decision, I should say, that decision should only apply to the parties of the case in that respective jurisdiction, not have nationwide implications. So that's a step we took in committee 2 weeks ago to help deal with this problem. And we're willing to look at everything else as well, because the American people are fed up with the judge in Timbuktu, California, saying something that then applies to the entire country.
And, of course, the entire country now will have to watch to see if these hardened criminals or these alleged Venezuela Tren de Aragua members, gang members, are going to be back on the streets in our big cities. But I want to get back to what you're doing at Judiciary Committee, because you sent 7 subpoenas to the FBI. You're trying to get into this politicization. What were the subpoenas? Tell us about that.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have it. And first of all, let me just say, God bless Pam Bondi. She's exactly right on this sanctuary city issue. I mean, and there's a whole new team in town, as the country can see. 8 weeks, what President Trump's done to secure the border, and now the action he's taken on sanctuary cities. And Pam Bondi saying you're not going to get the money, and if you're assisting or making it tough for law enforcement, federal law enforcement, to do their job, there are going to be implications, maybe even prosecutions. God bless her for the work she's doing. We sent subpoenas to Director Patel. He's already started to comply. What a contrast with, Chris Wray and Merrick Garland and that crazy Justice Department run under the Biden administration. So he's already started to send us information on the school boards issue. We still have answers there. Why were you investigating moms and dads showing up to speak up for their kids at a school board meeting? The Catholic memorandum in the Richmond field office, where they said if you're a pro-life Catholic, that somehow you're an extremist. We've asked for information regarding the 26 confidential human sources. To me, this is huge. 26 confidential human sources there on January 6, 2021. 17 entered restricted space. 4 went inside the Capitol. They weren't authorized to do that. 2 of the 4 who went inside the Capitol were actually asked to be there that day by our FBI at the time, by Christopher Wray. We got all kinds of questions. What were they doing? How much were they paid? How did they go in the Capitol? Did they go through a broken window? Were they the first to enter? I mean, there's a ton of questions I think the American people want answers to, not to mention who planted the pipe bombs. That's another issue. Not to mention how Iran hacking into President Trump's campaign. So we've asked for all this. Cash has already begun to send us information. We get the rest of that information tomorrow, and we're looking forward to that.
All right, so you're waiting on information that you'll get tomorrow. You're also working on the engagement between major technology companies and the Biden administration over the censorship of information. Tell me where you are on that. I'm talking about, Google and Apple and Microsoft. What specifically do you want to learn?
Well, we want to know how much pressure came from the Biden administration, because we know it did, and we've learned a lot already. And frankly, we feel like we've been a part of what President Trump, Elon Musk, and others have done in stopping the censorship. Remember, it was just last August when we got a letter from Mark Zuckerberg to the committee where he said the Biden administration pressured us to censor. We did it, we're sorry, and we won't do it again. And they've now subsequently changed policy, and they've now followed the same policy that Elon Musk has at Twitter, and that policy is basically embrace the First Amendment, for goodness sakes. The best way to deal with false speech and wrong speech is more speech. So that's what's happened thus far. But we're also interested in what's happening in the AI realm. What did the Biden administration do to pressure tech companies when they were rolling out their AI models and how that works? So we're looking at that issue. And frankly, also, we've sent letters to the European Union. We've sent letters to the United Kingdom and tech companies asking what is happening with the Online Privacy Act that took place in Great Britain, the Digital Services Act in the EU, and how is that impacting American speech, because they're applying these standards in a global fashion. We think the First Amendment, as one of our witnesses said in a hearing last week, she said debate, if only one side's allowed to speak, the alternatives to settling disputes is frightening, and we never want to go there. So this is really, we think, really important, protecting our liberties, and the most important liberty we have is our right to speak. Because you can't speak, you can't practice your faith, you can't share your faith, you can't petition the government, and you don't have a free press. It's the most important right we have. And so our committee is focused on protecting that fundamental liberty.
Guys, isn't that amazing? Like, dude, I'm a big fan of Jim Jordan. I would love to actually see him be the leader of, I know he's the leader of the House Judiciary Committee, but even the leader of the House or the Senate or something like that, he'd have to be, running for senator and stuff. But this right here, what he's talking about, remember, think about it. They tried to put Trump in jail. They tried to use lawfare against him. He had the New York hush money trial case. He had the Georgia classified documents case. He had the Washington, D.C. classified documents case. He had Georgia was the voting case. D.C. was the classified, and then Florida was another classified documents case. All trying to come up against him, and they all failed. And now, since Biden's admin's lawfare didn't work, now these federal judges are literally trying to stop Trump's executive orders at every single turn. And just like Jim Jordan said, how is it that a federal judge from Timbuktu can literally dictate what the president does for the entire country? It makes no sense. And that's why impeachments need to happen. We need to see these federal activist judges lose their seat, because you cannot, when you overstep and and there's over 100 guys, there's over 100 of these federal judges that have fought against Trump's executive orders. We got a problem in government. Want to say thank you so much, Elizabeth Raincore, for the super chat. Let's go. Say each one of they deport is one less vote for the Dems. That's a good one. Yeah, 100%. Teresa Weber, thank you so much for the super chat. So how many times is just one egg taxed from farmers to store to plate, and how much does it bring in? AI, no. Guys, let me tell you this. Your boy's going to be getting some chickens pretty soon with how things are going, because I don't ever want to be out of eggs, guys. I got 3 kids, and they love them eggs. What's new? Thank you so much for gifting 5 True Life News memberships. Let's go. Grow in the True Life News family. Guys, y'all show What's new? Teresa and Elizabeth, some love in the chat, guys. Y'all are killing it today, guys. Such wonderful chat. We are, and what I love too is what we're talking about. We're standing up for the American people. Every time that Trump is fighting one of these lawsuits, he's fighting for the American people, because if these unelected bureaucrats can continue to run our country and dictate even what the president is doing on his executive orders like this, we got a problem. Check this out.
Spoke, Greg, about corruption, weaponization. It became the Department of Injustice. Think about this for a second, because both of you and a few others, not many, were on this show regularly talking about the Russia hoax, talking about FISA abuse, talking about a dual system of justice, talking about, you know, this novel legal theory that they used in New York, talking about all the injustice. And there he is in the building where all the plotting and planning and scheming took place. I kind of took that in, and, you know, things worked out, but it was perilously close to the line where I think it was a line of no return. Greg.
You know, what the president did today was important because it pierced this myth that the Justice Department operates independently. That's a fiction. It is found nowhere in the Constitution. Indeed, the opposite is true. Article 2, the executive branch designed to be unitary. The president is the sole head of all agencies and departments, Sean, including the Department of Justice. He hires, fires, directs what they do. They operate within the presidential sphere. That's in the opinion clause, the appointments clause. It makes all of them subordinate, answerable to the president. Yet, we have seen this false paradigm of, the DOJ is independent, take hold. It is not. So today, Donald Trump reasserted his authority, his leadership. No more weaponization of the law for political gain or vendettas, and refocus on crime and safety, law and order. I think Americans are cheering that. It's about time.
When you look at where he was, this is the very building, Professor, as I said, where they were plotting and planning and scheming his destruction. They wanted to destroy this man, get Trump, I think somebody wrote a famous book called that. And when you think about it, he goes to that building. Would it be weaponization to look into the people that worked in that building and what they were up to, and whether or not they were following Justice Department protocol, whether or not they violated the law, whether or not show me the man and I'll find you the crime? I mean, is that what went on there? Would they be within their rights to look deeply and see how corrupted that agency became under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland?
Well, not only they looking into it, but Congress as well. The motto of the Justice Department is equal justice. And for the last 4 years, we have not seen equal justice. We've seen the application of a double standard. We're seeing the application of the double standard all over the country today. Take, for example, there were big demonstrations at Harvard and other universities on behalf of the free speech rights of this anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas thug. Very few of the professors who were chanting and cheering for free speech would do it if the person who was being deported was a conservative, a member of the Ku Klux Klan, a racist, a right-winger, somebody who didn't fit their political narrative and political ideology. The key to justice is a single standard. And if President Trump can bring about a single standard of justice, investigate wrongdoers, look at people who use the double standard, but make sure you do it without reference to political parties. You know, the Bible says that judges and prosecutors must never look at faces. Lo takir panim is the word in the Bible. Do not recognize faces. It has to be equal justice. And I think the speech today in the Justice Department was the beginning of the end of the double standard that I've been writing about, been complaining about, and will continue to complain about if it's not carried out by the Republicans. And, you know, I made a speech in Mar-a-Lago. President Trump was there. And I looked at him and I said, please don't do
what they did to you. Don't apply a double standard. And he
Right.
shook his head in agreement, and that really made me happy.
That's awesome, man.
Would they be within their...
Remember, this is Alan Dershowitz, the same guy who used to be a hardcore Democrat who literally left the Democrat Party in the past 12 months because all this unlawful lawfare that he saw, he's like, I can't do this anymore. These aren't the Democrats that I used to be. I can't be a Democrat anymore.
Would it be the right thing to do, both Congress and the Justice Department, Greg, to look into the people and to see if they abuse power for political purposes to take down Donald Trump?
Oh, it absolutely would. And we're just now inevitably learning about the ugly, illicit schemes that were used to target Donald Trump by the Department of Justice and the FBI. Part of the things we've learned over the last several days is that Biden's aides in the White House were handing over Trump and Mike Pence's cell phones. We already know that Biden leaked purposely to the media his demand that Merrick Garland prosecute his political opponent, Donald Trump. So, those people who broke the law, who violated standards, who were weaponizing their power and position for political purposes and vendetta should not only be held accountable publicly, but in a court of law if they broke laws.
Yeah. All right,
Absolutely.
Professor, no more getting anybody. I think we all agree on that. Professor, you get the last word.
Agree. Well, look, I think we're on the right track. I think Pam Bondi has extraordinary experience. She's tough. She has the right priorities. We can't have presidents of universities saying it broke my heart to see them invade the room of a student. Did it break her heart when they went into Mar-a-Lago, when they went into other places?
No.
You can't be heartbroken just when one side is attacked, but not the other. And so we have a deeper problem than the Justice Department. Our problem is deep within the academy. We have to root out the double standard that is applicable today in the academy, in the justice system, literally all over the country. And I saw today's speech as a good beginning.
And you know what? Defund any institution that is allowing this type of prejudice, hatred, discrimination on their college campuses. That'll be effective.
Don't go after medical research. Go after the villains, the bad guys, not medical research.
Okay, I'm talking about the funding until they have endowments that will last for
I'm saying, but you have to
years.
make sure that the funding is targeted. This funding is targeted, and so it doesn't impact medical research and good things that are happening. That's important too, and I think it will happen.
I don't know, man. With these colleges, to me, if they're corrupt, there's some corrupt in that medical research as well. Want to say, guys, again, what you're hearing is weaponization continuing of the federal, these federal judges that are literally, this is how crazy it is. This is a DC judge, and there's been some from San Francisco. There's been some from other states. But they literally put an order out, and that order says, President, you do this. And it's crazy that the president has to abide by it, or else he either has to take it to the Supreme Court or he has to take it to an appeals court. Those are the only two options that you get. So right now we have this federal judge who is literally blocked the order of Trump's deportation of these criminal gang members out of the country and said, no, bring them back. Bring back these criminal gang members to the United States. Stop deporting criminals. That doesn't make any sense to me. Our prisons are already filled up as it is. And some of these have committed multiple crimes. What are these? And there was even one that was talked about earlier. They committed 4 crimes and were released by the Biden administration. It's all, guys, they want chaos. These people hate America so bad. They hate Trump so much that they would rather have a criminal here who is part of a gang than to allow them to be deported out. That's the state that we're at with our country. It's that bad. Want to give some love to Mr. Norby, who said, thank you all who give so much and love to hear the truth and the real news. Here's Joel. Give this to the Family Fun House. here. Let's all be blessed. Let's go. Thank you so much, Leanne Wilson, John Reppy, MAGA baby. I love it. Andy, who says, People Research Act of 1871. Open your eyes. Link it in the bottom. The Act of 1871. The United States isn't a country. It's a corporation. Wow. That's pretty interesting. I'll have to check that out, brother. But appreciate the super chat. And thank you so much, Camp Goer 1, who said President Trump's orders need to stand. He is in charge. These corrupt judges need to be impeached from their positions and disbarred. I agree. And thank you so much. Wow. Thank you so much, Deanna Rankin, who said, why is President Trump letting judges bring these criminals back in the country? Because we have a broken system, Deanna. Y'all show them some love in the chat, guys. I'm telling you this, that what this is doing is exposing every single federal judge that is not America First, but what it's also doing is it's exposing how broken our system is. That any federal judges, hold on, let me check this out, guys. How many federal judges are there in the U.S.? So any federal judge can do this. They can go against Trump's executive orders and basically stop him from doing. There is 870 federal judges in the United States. Suffice it to say, maybe half of them are Democrat, and then take about half of those people that are progressive, far leftists. So we're talking, what, 200 plus that are going to be doing this constantly? Guys, we need some 100% overhaul in the United States federal court systems, especially when it comes to these federal judges and the power. To me, it should be the Supreme Court. That is, if they're going to stop something like that, it should be coming from the Supreme Court, not from one of the 870 federal judges in the United States from God knows where. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching. Thank you to all of our subscribers. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Let us take care of you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support, guys. Y'all been amazing today. Amazing chat. Amazing fun, giving, guys. We couldn't do this without you. Want to give some love to Scott Matthews, Ronald Zimmerman, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Teresa Weber, Lukika YN1, Alex Fox, What's New, VT Girl, Summerman, Joanne Brick, Carol Robertson, Katrina Cathy, Elizabeth Rancor, Teresa Weber, Leanne Wilson, John Reppy, Andy, Camp Goer 1, Deanna Rankin. Guys, y'all show them some love in the chat. What a wonderful, wonderful day it's been, guys, of us. We're giving the truth. We're showing everything that's happening. These corrupt judges are being exposed. And tonight, I'm going to be heading out. My mom's birthday was a couple of days ago. So I'm going to be taking her out tonight to a nice restaurant in Nashville. You got to always take care of mama, And don't forget, we love Dad too. Dad does a great job too. But going to be taking Mom out tonight, guys. So I'm going to be, we're going to go get us some big steaks, take care of her. But just want to say, guys, it's just such a blessing. We do 2 shows, Monday through Friday, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. And it's such a blessing to always bring you the top news every day. Love you so much. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.